Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. To have a very special guest with me today. She's a cartoonist and children's book illustrator. Please welcome Shauna Grant. Hello, Shauna. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much.
You are most welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and start by asking where are you from and how did you get started in art?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Bronx in New York City,
Mhm.
and I got into art like I really want to say I watched a lot of cartoons growing up. So
Mhm.
that's really what did it. And what really like pushed it over was just like Sailor Moon. I just really wanted to do like stories. So I did a lot of fan fiction writing and just drawing. And eventually that led me into doing like more art programs in like high school and then going into college for it. And here I am.
All right, that's really, really cool. Now, what are some like your favorite 90s cartoons or like anime like cartoons that you've watched?
Yeah, so I mentioned Sailor Moon. Like, I really loved like the whole magical girl scene. So, like Cardcaptor Sakura,
Mm.
pretty nostalgic for like Inuyasha and stuff. But also, I really loved like the Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network stuff. So I was like a huge Rugrats fan, and Hey
Right.
Arnold and the Powerpuff Girls. So I really liked a good mix of like Western and like Eastern animation.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the same way. I remember when Pokemon came out like in the 90s. Like
Yeah.
that's like a true classic. Like also like, you had Courage the Cowardly Dog, Kids Next Door. You had what's the other one? Like Code Lyoko that used to come on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like awesome cartoons back then.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. But they had so many good shows.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to name like a specific one.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So in terms of your art, how could you describe like your art style?
Right now, I kind of like to think of it as a marriage of like Western cartooniness and like
Mm.
Japanese like anime and kawaii pop stuff. So yeah, like it's definitely like I try to get like that kawaii like cute essence in my work, but like
Mm.
with my coloring and everything, I like to just kind of like keep it like simple and sleek and like thick lines that are almost kind of like, like the rubber hose animation. So it's like a mix of that.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, really cool.
Mhm.
But I also like how like your color palette is very, very consistent. It's like pinks, purples, blues, like very pastel. So like, because I can really tell like it's that kawaii, anime cute, type of
Yeah.
vibe and things like that. But I also want to talk about like having Black representation in your work. So how important is to have Black representation within your work?
Yeah, represent it's so important, especially as somebody who grew up in the 90s and really loved watching like all these cartoons and
Mhm.
shows and reading comics. There wasn't a lot of characters that looked like me, like a young, dark-skinned black girl.
Right.
So I realized, especially like be leaning more towards anime just because there were more like female led shows in anime at the
Mhm.
time. Like by the time I got to college, like I realized I don't really draw people that actually like look like me. Like they're kind of like racially ambiguous, like
Right,
standard
right,
anime characters.
right.
And I remember my chairman in college was like, "This, this needs to stop. Your characters look too young." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess, yeah, okay." So yeah, so like I pushed myself from there to be like, okay, let me actually make characters that look black, that look like me.
Right.
And of course the opposite of that is, oh, is that you? Oh, like why do you draw you so much? And I was like, no. Yeah, but like when you don't see that, like you kind of like forget that, oh yeah, like you exist, like
Right.
especially like with kids, they like to draw what they see, it's how they start
Mhm.
learning like what they're interested in and how they want to express themselves. So when they don't see themselves like represented, it's like, well, can I even do that?
Right. Yeah, right, exactly. Now, who are like your favorite like artists that you looked up to, like, favorite like contemporary artists or artists from the 80s, 90s? Like who's like your favorite artist?
Yeah, like that one's like always hard because I'm like, oh man, there's like so many different things, like a favorite. But right now my favorite artists are like Jen Wang. She's a graphic novelist. She did like The Prince and the Dressmaker. I really, really love the way that she does her paneling and
Mhm.
stuff. I just think it's so cool. And then I also like the Japanese artist, Nagata Kabi. And she writes these really like off the wall, like not super off the wall, but like her art style is super like
Mhm.
just hectic and sketchy. These
Mhm.
memoir, like journal comics about her life. And I just love like how vulnerable she is with like everything that goes on with her. And she has like so many volumes out now. So it's like whenever
Mhm.
I see like a new book from her, I'm like, oh my God, like I hope she's doing better. I can't wait to see. And like for me, I overthink stuff so much, especially something as simple as just, just talking about your life. So I really like how she's just kind of like able to bring you into her world without making it like a super like big deal. It's just very simple, but you feel like you're there with her, like going through everything. So I really like that. And yeah, when I was growing up, I really liked the artist called Koke Dambo.
Mhm.
And they drew like Digikara. I don't know if it's I don't feel like their stuff is that popular over here, but like for me, it was like life. Like I love their
Mhm.
series Patatan, and one of the characters had like these bunny things, and I would wear that like all the way to college.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I really like people who draw comics in a way that makes me feel like I want to draw that, or like who have like really vibrant colors. And I also
Right.
admire people that do like more realistic art because I'm like, I
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm like the same way. I look at like realistic art, but I'm more so into the like art that's very like unique. Like there's this artist that I interviewed as a recent. I love his work so much. It's so colorful. Like his color palette is so like consistently colorful, vibrant. It just brings you joy every time. His name
Yeah.
his name is David Oku. and
Okay.
and he's half Nigerian, half Italian. And
Mhm.
I did an interview with him, and we was talking about his work, and like his work is really, really cool. You'll like his stuff. Another artist that I like also is Kirby Rosanes. Like his work is absolutely like incredible, and he's from the Philippines. He does a
Okay.
lot of like busy artworks and with different characters. He has animals, plants, and things like that. There's another artist that I really like as well. His name is Alex Conahan, and his work is really cool as well. Like he does a lot of insects, but he does it like in a filigree style type of vibe. And he plays a lot with like shadow and light, like, caption like, as if these were like metal type of, insects.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cool art out there.
Absolutely. Like it's so cool, like what people gravitate towards.
Right, right. Exactly. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Now, what has been your whole experience like working with Scholastic?
Well, working with Scholastic has been like a total joy. Like I've always wanted to do comics since I
Mhm.
went to college because I went to the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan for cartooning. And then
Okay.
after I graduated, me and my friends, we kind of just did like the convention scene for like, I want to say like 7 or 8 years,
Hmm.
just like tabling in artist alley. And I was like, I'm not really drawing comics. So that's when I started like a web comic
Hmm.
to, just to show that like, hey, I can draw comics. And, that got me in touch with other editors. Like I'm also working with First Second, who was like a dream of mine. But Scholastic was like never on my radar. Like it was like, oh, there's no way. So like working with them now is
Right.
really cool. But they're really friendly and really understanding.
Hmm.
And the way they've been with my debut book, Mimi and the Cutie Catastrophe, I'm like just so like grateful for like everything. It's been really fun. Very fast paced, but really fun.
Right, right. Exactly. Now, what are some pieces of advice you would give for someone who wants to, pursue art, who want to go to art school to just pursue art, whether it's cartooning, illustration, graphic design, or whatever it is?
Well, the main thing I always like to say is if you want to do something, the best way to get to doing that is to just do it. So,
Mhm.
since I draw comics for a living, people that want to get into the comic scene, I just tell them, we'll just start a comic and share it, because that's like the best way to do it, especially with like the internet now. Like there's so many like publishers and editors that hang out
Mhm.
on like Twitter and Instagram, they're looking for artists. So like if you don't have an agent currently, like sometimes you can get lucky and they will reach out to you, but they won't know to unless you're posting your stuff, or even tabling at conventions is like really helpful depending
Mm.
on which ones you went to. That's how I met my editor at First Second, and apparently I met the creative director of Scholastic somewhere, because he was like, "Oh, it's Shauna. I want to work with her." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't even remember when I met you." Thank you. Yeah, so just get out there, and you can
Mhm.
publish your comics in so many places now. Like I did my
Right.
webcomic on Tumblr first, and there's
Mm.
such a big comic scene on Instagram too, which is really cool. And then you have like webtoons and tapas. So it's like, yeah, just go for it.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay. Oh, my friend
And
went there.
so like the whole thing is like, of course, I can definitely agree, like just go for it. Like whatever you want to do, just go for it. And
Mhm.
just be the best at it of what you want to do. So that's the thing. So that's very, very important. And in terms of your, like your illustrations and your web comics, like do you plan them? Like what's your whole process with building a web comic?
Okay, so when I did my webcomic, Princess Love Pond, it wasn't like a super big plan for it. It was
Right.
just like, well, I kind of want to do comics. I want to do a webcomic. I want to do something that's kind of like cute and shoujo-y. Like that's what I feel like
Mhm.
doing. So
Right.
I just kind of like started, designing stuff and like a loose story from there. And then I just kind of like went for it, like page by page,
Right.
which I don't really recommend. But from where from oh my God, like the way webcomics has changed like in just like 10
Mhm.
years is crazy. So when I started my webcomic, that was like when I don't know why, but Mega Tokyo is always like the comic that comes like to my head first. But like web comics were like a big thing, like in the early
Right.
2000s. Like if you had a web comic, that was you. That's the thing that you did, and it would just be running for page after page after page after page.
Mhm.
But nowadays, like I see younger artists, and they're like, "Oh, check out my web comic," and then like after like 50 pages, they're like, "Okay, that was the end," and I'm like, "Wait, what? Like you can do that?" It doesn't have to be a big story. So now I'm like, yeah, do a web comic, but start like a short one first. That's
Mhm.
what I wish I did, because like it just kind of like snowballed into like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. But again, like at the end of the day, like the most important thing is that you got the experience of drawing like, pages and panels and having a story like continue from page to page, because that's what editors want to see. Like, can this person actually
Mhm.
draw like a comic that's like 100 pages, like um and
Mhm.
from what I learned from there, it's really helped me drawing like my graphic novels now. This is actually I've done 3 graphic novels so far that I've like illustrated. So
Right.
each one has been like just a big lesson of like, oh yeah, planning ahead is really good.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah, most definitely. Now tell us about the book Mimi and the Cutie Catastrophe. Like, what's that book about?
Yeah, so this is a hard copy here. And Mimi and the Cutie Catastrophe. It's an early reader's graphic novel. So it's really, really great for kids
Mhm.
like 5, 6, and up. And it's basically a story about a little girl named Mimi. And she's really cute and everything. But one
Mhm.
day she's like, people are calling me cute too much. They don't think I can do anything else. Like I'm too cute to get dirty. Like I'm too cute to be strong. Like I don't like this.
Right.
So she goes on this adventure with her best friend Penelope, who's a magical talking toy dog. and she asks Penelope to transform her into these different outfits so she can try to be something that's, not just cute. And it's all like a story about like being true to yourself.
Right.
And because, kids are always being called cute, and people think like, oh, if it's super girly, like there's no way they can be strong. And, that's not the case. You can be cute and strong. You can be cute and smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that very interesting because like people can perceive you as this one thing, like, oh, she does this or he does this. And it's like, no, like there's many different layers to that person. When you peel back the layers, like, oh, they're more than just this one thing of what they do. They do other things, or their personality is much bigger than how we perceive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's very, very, important to really understand. But also I want to get into what has been your whole experience in terms of, working with clients or working with other like publishing companies. Like, how do you also like price your work when working with these publishing companies or other clients?
Yeah. Well, when I got like my first 2 book deals, I didn't have an agent at the time. So it was just kind of like, this is what we're going to offer you. And I'm like, I guess this is okay. Like, I don't know. It's money. I'm really excited. So I have a client now I have an agent now who's like really, really cool, really amazing. And she's able to like get me like a good deal. I feel like as an artist, it's really hard to ask for what you're worth, especially when you're first starting out. Like I used to do more commissions, online or at conventions, and I'd be like, oh, sure, like I'll do that for like $10. But as I've gotten older and I switched, to working with publishers rather than just working, purely like freelance, like I just kind of realized like I don't really like doing commissions that much. So like when I do take them, I'm like, well, you have to like pay me enough money where it's worth my time to do something that, like, well, I could be drawing something for myself and selling it rather than, doing work. But yeah, but regardless, like I think people should make sure that, they're pricing themselves, fairly, because it's, so many people undervalue like how hard doing art is, like physically, mentally, emotionally, like you're pouring your heart on the page like every time you create something. So you really need to make it worth your time and energy to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely agree. Like pricing can be hard, especially like how you said when you first start out. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to price so high. You don't want to price too low. And the thing is, I think that's something that everybody is still trying to figure out, like that type of thing. A lot of us are still trying to figure that out. Where it's like, okay, how would I price it? And sometimes you have to sometimes base it on the hours you put in. Sometimes it's the quality of materials. Sometimes it's both. And I think both is very important because, like how you said, you put a lot of effort into it. That's like with me being in the beauty industry. I'm not only an illustrator, but I'm also a nail artist. Like with people who do press on nails, like people are pricing, like $15, $20, $30, $40 for a set of press-ons, but it's okay to price what you're worth. You can price $150, $200, $300, $400, and especially you use high quality products to do like, art on the nails, and you add all this other stuff, and you put the hours in. So it is very important to understand your worth.
Absolutely. Oh my God. I just think that's just so cool how you do nails, right?
Yeah.
And they're so lovely.
Yeah. Because the thing is, nail art is just as much of an art form as anything else,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I think, nail artists, have gotten, the short end of the stick. And also too, like, it's okay to, for us as nail artists to price what we're worth, it's okay to do that because we put the time in. Yeah, so that, I think that's something that's very, very important, and something to really keep in mind. But also too, I want to definitely get into, in terms of your book as well, like how did you like publish it? Was it self-published? Did you go to a publishing company to get it published? Like, well, how was the publishing, or how did that work?
Okay, so for Mimi, I it's published through Scholastic's graphics imprint. So it's not self-published. I was able to do that because at the time I had an agent and I
Mhm.
was working on a different book project, but I really needed like more income to like, not have to be forced to like get another job on the side. So I was like, I really want to sell like a little book, like something simple that I could do fast. So
Mhm.
I sent her like, like a mock-up with like, little illustrations and stuff. And she was going to take it around to show it to like her editor friends and stuff. And then it went to the creative director at Scholastic. And she used to work for graphics actually, which also
Mhm.
helped as well. But when he
Right.
saw it was like me, he was like, oh, that's Shauna. Like, I really wanted to work with her. And so he approached us and he was like, this is cute and all, but do you want to make it into a graphic novel rather than like, like a board book for kids? And I'm like, at
Mhm.
this point, like, yeah, sure, okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think it's like usual, like what they did with me, which was I had my editor that was going to be my editor for Mimi,
Mhm.
and him, they kind of like helped me develop my pitch because they were like,
Mhm.
we really want to work with you. We want to get you like through acquisitions. And acquisitions is basically like a board meeting where they look at possible projects from different people and they're
Okay.
like, what books are we going to pick up and how much are we
Mhm.
going to offer for them? And so they kind of like helped me develop my story so that it was tight. And then I had to
Mhm.
work on my pages because when you make a pitch for a graphic novel, you want like a full outline of your story, like what's going to happen in it. You want like a quick synopsis of it, just like your elevator pitch. And then you want to show them like what's the book going to look like. And unlike um, like prose where I think you have to have like your whole book finished. With a graphic
Right.
novel, you just need like a couple of pages. So I had about like
Mhm.
10 pages that I drew from the book in color so they could see like, look, this is how cute and
Mhm.
colorful it's going to be. And so once I went through that process, acquisitions picked it up for 2 books. And once it comes out next month on July 19th, I'm hoping that I can sell like a third book with them because I'm like, come on, it's really cute and there needs to be more cute Black girl books out there.
Right.
But that's kind of like the whole process of working
Mhm.
with a publisher, which again is a lot easier when you have an agent because not a lot of publishers just take submissions from artists that aren't represented, but
Right.
you can still go the self-published route,
Mhm.
financing through Kickstarter. I have a lot of peers and friends that do that. And
Mhm.
sometimes if you have like a really popular Kickstarter, publishers will look at that too and be like, oh, hey, like that was a really cool comic you did. Let
Mhm.
us actually like, publish it again, like officially, like
Right.
that happened with the web comic, was it Check Please, I think. Yeah, but it happened like a few times. Yeah.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, I find that very interesting because like now also too, like what do people look for in a children's book? Like how many pages should a children's book be?
With a traditional children's book, you would have like 36 to 48 pages.
Mm.
Um, so like I don't do traditional children's book, but my
Okay.
best friend from high school, she is like a children's book artist. So
Mhm.
I kind of like know from her, and sometimes I'm a little jealous because I'm like, I would much rather just work on a few spreads than do like this whole book. But the graphic novel that I worked on, Mimi and the Cutie Catastrophe, since it's an early reader's graphic novel, it's
Mhm.
only about 80 pages. So it's very
Okay.
short. And then the panels, it's very simple. So because it's for like little kids. So I just keep the paneling very simple,
Wow.
like 3, 5 tops if I'm really squeezing it. But usually I have about like 3 or 4 panels per page because it's kind of like a kid's first graphic novel.
Mhm.
They're learning how to read by
Mhm.
themselves and everything. But the other graphic novel I did with First Second, which is going to come out in January, about Rosa Parks and Claudette Colvin and the civil rights movement. It
Mhm.
was about 122 pages. So
Okay.
yeah, so it depends on your age group. So if you have like, regular like middle grade books that are for like, like seven, eighth graders and up, those are usually like 150 to like 200 and something pages.
Mhm.
For like for little kids, they tend to be like shorter, like 80 pages.
Cool, cool. Now I want to switch gears and talk about like favorite like art mediums and programs. So like what are like
Yeah.
some of your favorite like, vector graphic programs or any like traditional art mediums that you like to use when doing art?
Mhm. Yeah, my ride or die is Clip Studio Paint. I just love it. I love it so much. So that's what I mainly do like all my work in. And then
Mhm.
I'll use Photoshop for like my lettering and stuff, just because that's like industry standard. And,
Mhm.
I have to deliver my pages like that to like my editors so they can like do what they need to do with the text and stuff. But
Mhm.
I love drawing and clip. And then like traditionally, I don't work traditionally as much as I should, but when I do, I really love drawing just straight with pen, and sometimes like going over it with marker, like just really, really simple stuff. Like I'm
Right.
not I'm not that great at things, but I did like oil painting back in college. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never done like oil painting, but I've worked with like acrylic and gouache, and
Okay.
I have been using like these Posca markers, but I've been using like black Posca markers. I just like how it's like in marker form instead of like
Yeah.
you just doing like a paintbrush with like a thing of paint. And that's like my traditional side. But like the digital aspect, I like using like Illustrator. I've been using a lot more with Affinity Designer, which is like a vector
Mhm.
program.
Okay.
So Affinity, you pay like $50 and then you have the program pretty much, for the rest of the time. So you don't have to pay every year. The thing is with
Oh,
Adobe, you got to pay every year, like 200, 300 something bucks.
it's horrible.
Yeah, it's crazy though, but also like another program that's pretty popular now is like Procreate. I don't know if you've used Procreate or not. I've never used
Oh
Procreate.
yeah, I've tried it. Yes.
Like how was it? Do you feel like it was in like relation to Clip Studio Paint?
It was nice.
Hmm.
I just I don't feel like I gave it as much as a chance as I should have, because
Hmm.
you can also just, use Clip Studio on your iPad too. So I kind of just like ran it back to that. But I
Right.
think it's really great if you have a more like painterly art style, or you like to use
Hmm.
like a lot of textured brushes and everything.
Right.
Whereas I like things just be like really slick and really clean. So it's just easier for me to work in Clip. And then also because I use Clip on my desktop as well, it's just easy for me to like go back and forth and just put everything like on my iCloud so I can work on my books or whatever wherever I go.
Hmm. Yeah, right. Cool, cool. Now I want to get into in terms of with art, like what is your whole take of what is your whole perspective in terms of art and especially where it's headed?
Um, I think art is just a beautiful medium that everybody needs to experience making, and I don't want anyone to feel like ashamed of it.
Mhm.
People always are like, "Oh, I can't even draw like a stick figure," and I get really excited because I'm like, "Wait, there are graphic novels out there that are made up of nothing but stick figures. Like, it's
Right.
okay." So I think it's really cool, like how accessible it feels now, like with social media and
Mhm.
stuff. Like kids can just go out there and like share their art like everywhere, which is really cool. Like when I
Mhm.
was like that age, like 13, 14, like it was mainly like deviant art, and like that was it.
Right, right.
But now you have this, and also it's so cool, since we're like in the digital age and everything is like computers. It's so cool that you can like buy an art tablet for so cheap now. Like you don't
Mhm.
have to work with a Wacom tablet if you don't want to, and
Right.
you could just like go straight for it. You could get like an iPad and just go straight for it. Like so showing my age, so like when I was younger, like tablets were just like coming out, you know, and it was just like, wow, this is like so exciting, you know. Like I would just be on like those oikage boards, like trying to draw with my mouse.
Right, exactly.
So I love it. I just, you know, love and I love how diverse it is nowadays
Right.
too. Like you could see a lot of children's books and a lot of comics with a bunch of, you know, different sorts of people of all like backgrounds and genders and sexualities. And I think that's really, really great, you know. And also like, not that I'm like super duper like into like the whole Marvel movie thing, but I just think it's really cool that everybody's like crazy for like comic book characters. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah. Like, you know, like
Exactly.
a couple decades ago, you know, that was like the nerdy geeky thing to do. But no, now it's really cool. So, you know, it's really cool to see like how much like comics have taken over like pop culture.
Right. I definitely agree with that because, like, you know, I remember using like DeviantArt, you know, I started using like Photoshop when I was like, you know, 12 or 13. And, you know, I look at DeviantArt now, that site's evolved so much. It looks like, you know, another site called ArtStation, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
like ArtStation, where all like the concept art and stuff like that. So,
Mhm.
you know, like how you said, stuff has evolved so much, especially, you know, digitally, you know, like everything's accessible now, you know, and also
Yes.
NFTs are getting into fruition, you know, and I mean, people are getting involved in that, putting their artwork as
Mhm.
NFTs. So it's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And like the whole webtoon thing, like
Mhm.
just reading comics on your phone, like I
Right.
think it's totally like I really admire them for just like how much of a beast they are with what they've done with like they
Mhm.
literally changed the way we think of web comics right now. And also
Mhm.
it's so cool to like see like TV shows being made based off of them.
Mhm.
Um yeah, so I really it's really nice. I think right now is like a really cool age to get into like art and comics.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, have you ever thought about like doing like your own toys or doing like collaborations of like doing your own like design, like sneakers or anything like that, you know, down the line possibly?
I'm totally open to it. Like I've had one of my characters made into a plush toy as fan art by a really really lovely person. But I haven't like actually gone out and designed toys myself.
Mhm.
I'm one of those artists that are really scared to like dip their toes into other things,
Right.
even
Yeah,
though
that's understandable, right?
people are like begging for it.
Right.
So yeah, I would love to like I would love to see like Mimi like take off and you know to see a Mimi doll and Penelope
Right.
stuffed animal and stuff and like sneakers. I'm like, you know, like why not? Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really, really cool. Now, how would you define success in your personal perspective?
So that is something that I am still kind of tackling myself. But
Mm,
like for the moment, I would think success is just finding peace with where you
right.
are.
Mm,
Like I don't like the idea of the bar being set like so high that it feels like impossible to reach, but
right.
also I don't think it should be something where it's like okay, like I've done that, but like is it enough, you know,
Right.
like it doesn't feel like I really did anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's like you have to find like what would make you happy, you know, like you don't have to be like somebody else that has like over 1 million followers and they're working with all these different people, you know, because maybe that kind of success works for them, but maybe for you it would be hella stressful, you know,
Right.
like I always imagined being happy just kind of like working on a couple books a year and you know
Mhm.
maybe having an online store with stuff that you know I like to draw that makes me happy and hopefully other people would like too, and just you know being able to make a living like that and make a difference in somebody's life by giving them some cute stories that they can enjoy.
Right, right. Yeah, most definitely. Last but not least, where could people find you on social media and how could people support your work?
So you can find my website at shaunadraws.com. And my Twitter is Shauna Draws, and my Instagram is Shauna Draws Cute. And you
Mhm.
can super support me right now by pre-ordering Mimi and the Cutie Catastrophe. It's available anywhere you like to buy your books: Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Target, Walmart, or you can go straight to Scholastic's website and buy it there. That really, really helps, and it really shows my publisher that people are interested in this book, and also that people are interested in books led by Black characters.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really great. Well, thank you so much, Shauna, for jumping onto the show. I love your artwork. I love how it's cute and fun. And I love the Black representation in your work. Thank you so much. This has been fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Yeah, me as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms and visit my website, ASIATHABIRD.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care and stay beautiful.